please tell me what is SEO?
Yeah, I do think every business owner should at least have a general understanding of it. And so many business owners come to me like 3, 4 years into their business and they're like, okay, like I actually have no idea what it is. And I feel like I have this website and it's done nothing for me. And I'm paying all this money for a website. I paid a designer for a website and it's not doing anything for me.
Hey there, fellow rebels. Welcome to #ActuallyICan, the podcast where we say a hearty hell yes to designing life on our own terms. I'm Katie Ripp, a lifestyle coach, business mentor, and serial entrepreneur, here to guide you through the wild ride of defying what society expects of us and embracing our authenticity. On this show, we dive deep into taboo topics like death, money, spirituality, entrepreneurship, unapologetic self-care, and personal development, all while swearing and laughing along the way. Expect down and dirty conversations, plenty of humor, and a whole lot of exploration, leaving you feeling empowered to be your truest self. Whether you're craving a good laugh, seeking unconventional self-care tips, or simply looking for some camaraderie, you've come to the right place. We only get this one short life, so buckle up and let's design yours on our own terms. Ready to dive in? Let's go!
Welcome back, listeners. Thank you for joining us at #ActuallyICan. Today, I am talking with Maggie from Hilltop Help. She is, well, I'm going to probably butcher this. You are an SEO expert.
Yeah.
Yes.
SEO, consultant, expert, strategist. There's a million different words you can use.
So I am an SEO junkie, but from the other end, like I have a certificate in web design, but it was from 25 years ago and I know nothing about SEO. So I found Maggie through Instagram, which is like, I love that. I love the connection of Instagram for sure, especially for small business owners of like, where are the women actually doing it and being real about it? We were just talking about me having conspiracy theories about these people that are out there, $998 million. So I'm going to let Maggie introduce herself. She's got really kind of a great story of #ActuallyICan, right? Like you didn't start out as an SEO gal. And then we're going to really dive into SEO and all of the things about SEO, because I think it is one of those things that we should absolutely be outsourcing, not trying to necessarily learn ourselves. Even though you can do some stuff,
you can.
Actually, you can do a lot of stuff on your own. And I actually bought Maggie's course and have been working through it. I have just a little bit left of it. And it's been a great course. So I'm going to let you just kind of take it away. Like tell us your story of how you ended up in this position. I know that there's a story behind COVID. So the last 5 years has been sort of crazy for a lot of people. So
it's been a whirlwind. Yeah. And probably like a lot of people that you interview on this podcast, COVID turned our world upside down. So I've always been kind of like a multi-passionate person. Nursing was actually my second degree out of college. I did a degree in public health. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do with that. So went right to nursing school after, my undergrad. And I worked in healthcare for 10 years. I started kind of like as a receptionist and then worked in a variety of settings as a registered nurse. I did postpartum. That was kind of my most recent job. I did pediatrics. I worked at Hopkins for about 2 years in their transplant and cardiac pediatric unit. So you can imagine how traumatizing that was. I worked in several different like outpatient surgery centers as well. So I really loved healthcare because I think I'm a multi-passionate person. It always gave me that opportunity to pivot and like try something new. There's always something new to learn in healthcare. And overall, I enjoyed my time there. But it was when I had my first son on March 6th, so like a week before the world turned upside down. We had like a very normal delivery. Like people were mumbling about COVID, but it wasn't like full-blown chaos yet. And actually where I had him is where I ended up working as a postpartum nurse afterwards because I had such a great experience there. And a week after, I think it was March 13th, it was Friday the 13th. I have a good story about Friday the 13th, but I always have bad luck on Friday the 13th. And on Friday the 13th, after I had my son, I was having like chest pain and all this like weird symptoms. And it was like, that was the last day of school in Maryland where I am. And then they closed it down. So I ended up going to the ER on Friday the 13th, March 2020, which everything was fine. It was just like dehydration really and exhaustion. And yeah, just being back at the hospital, I was like, okay, this is like really terrifying to be here when this virus is going around. I have a newborn baby at home. So that's what kind of started to get my wheels turning about entrepreneurship. But it wasn't until I had my daughter actually about 20 months later. So still in the pandemic,
Okay.
but yeah, still
You're
in the
in it to win
pandemic.
it, man.
Oh yeah. I was like, let's knock them out. And I had boy, girl, was thinking I was done, but actually I have a third child now.
Yes, we can do that too.
Surprise. Yeah. So yeah, when I had my daughter, I was working night shift, only part-time, but it was still just it's really hard to work at a hospital, in my opinion, when you have kids. There's so many people that do it, but it just wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted. And I wanted to be home with them and be able to be present. I was home with them a lot because I worked night shift, but I was so tired. Yeah, just that anxiety of like, I'm in a hospital, there's germs, all the things. So that's what kind of got my wheels turning about like starting my own business. Actually, at the same time, my husband was starting his own business as well with his dad. So that's another thing that kind of got my wheels turning. No one in my family is an entrepreneur. Like it was when I like told people I'm going to leave my stable nursing job, everyone looked at me like I had like 12 heads. I'm like, cute. Like, well, you can always go back to nursing. That's what everyone always said. You can always go back.
I mean, that is a true statement, I suppose.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, that's a common response for lots of people when you go into entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's like, why would you leave something stable? But I think when you're an entrepreneur, you just get it. Like, there's just that freedom and that like autonomy that you don't get when you work for somebody else. And yeah, my husband was starting his job and totally different. He does like logistics, delivery services and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And now he has a restaurant too. So that's a nightmare. I don't own a restaurant.
We own two,
Oh,
so
you do? Yeah. Okay. So
yeah.
you know.
Well, not full blown restaurants. We have a coffee shop and an ice cream
That's
shop.
right. Okay.
But
Yeah. I
I
mean,
get it. Yeah.
it's a lot. Ooh, it's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah. So anyway, that just kind of got my wheels turning. I was on Instagram a lot at that time, as most mothers are, like breastfeeding in the middle of the night and, holding
So true.
babies for naps, just scrolling. And all these influencers were like posting that they needed help. And I was like, this is interesting. Like, I feel like I can do Canva. Like, I'm on social media all the time. I get it. Literally, I had no idea about the online marketing world and how complex and like interesting it is, really. I just thought like, yeah, I can help these people. So I just ended up like reaching out to a few people who were posting about them needing virtual assistants. It started with just influencers at first. I didn't realize like all the online businesses that are out there. Took a course through Pursuing Her Purpose, which is no longer, but Wisconsin based.
Yep.
So that's how I have all my Wisconsin connections. Everyone always thinks I'm from the Midwest because I have all of these connections.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Abby's coming on the podcast next week.
Oh, love Abby. Oh my
I
gosh.
know.
Well, I'm going to come too.
And well, you can come. We only live like 8 miles apart.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yes.
Yay. So anywho, back to the stories. Yeah. So I kind of just started as a virtual assistant rather, and just kind of to get my bearings. Everyone I worked with, I was like, I'm brand new at this, but I'm a registered nurse. So a lot of the people that I worked with were also like in healthcare to some degree. Like a lot of them were nurses who were pivoting to their own business, like sleep consultants, parenting coaches, that kind of thing. And now I work with a lot of therapists and other types of healthcare providers, like physical therapists, occupational therapists, all the therapists.
All the therapists.
All the things. Lots of health coaches, fitness coaches. Yeah, so I feel like my background in healthcare has really served me in that way because I know the terminology, like I know what their struggles are as healthcare professionals. Like they don't have time to be, spending any time really on their marketing because they're with patients all the time. So that's kind of how I found my niche, I guess. And then once I started learning more about blogging and SEO and web design, I was like, oh, this is what I really, really love because it was just the perfect mix of like creativity, which I didn't have as a nurse. I felt like, creative with like how you talk to patients and deal with them and stuff. But there wasn't that like, artistic creativity that I really craved from like as a child. I was really artistic. And yeah, and then also like very data driven. So it had like that perfect blend of almost like an artsy science is how I look at it. And yeah, that's what just drew me to SEO. And I started taking all the courses and free trainings and YouTube videos and all the things and really just trial and error with my own content and then with like my very new clients. And I've learned a lot in the last 3 years for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a steep learning curve, but I feel like there's so much to learn that it's kind of never ending too. It's such a fascinating world. I also have this art brain, but I love numbers so
Yes.
much. I love all analytics. Give me all the spreadsheets, all
Yeah.
the playing around with numbers and all of that. So, well, first of all, like, how did you leave your job? Right? Because you obviously came up against some skepticism, of course, and there probably was some doubt in there at some point, especially being in the healthcare industry. And our skeptics in my life was always, who's going to pay for health insurance? That was my parents, my uncles, aunts, everybody. The first question was, who's going to pay for health insurance?
Yeah.
I
got that
find to
question.
be such a societal sadness that that's the first thing you're thinking of, or that people are working only for insurance. Like, what kind
Mhm.
of existence do we live in that we're only working for insurance? Not to blame anybody that does work for insurance, because I know that, it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people. And I totally understand that. Or they have some medical ailment that they definitely need to work for insurance. I totally get it. But that was the biggest roadblock for all of my family and most of
Yeah.
my friends when both my husband and I left our jobs, was who's going to pay for health insurance.
Yeah. I got that question a lot too. And luckily, yeah, my husband actually is on salary with his dad's job. So we had health insurance through that. I mean, I had great benefits working at the hospital. I had my daughter there for free, like literally free. Every appointment, everything was free. Then when I had my son, I was like, oh, that's shocking. Like how much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to pay cash for miles because we
Oh
didn't
my
have
gosh.
insurance. And on his 5th birthday, I was like, well, you are paid for. You have now been paid for. We
You
made
are
payments for
just
5
you.
years. You've
Yeah.
been on layaway. Now you're ours.
Now you're ours. Yeah, right. Yeah, I did a payment plan through the hospital just because I'm like, interest free. Why not? Oh, yeah. What? You don't need my money that bad, right? Great. Yeah. That's definitely got a lot of that question for sure. Even with my husband, like having insurance, just like, oh, but you're not going to have any benefits. But the benefit is the freedom and I did get a lot of support too of like, oh, like now's the time to do it. You have young
Yeah.
kids, like you'll never get that time back. Questions like that. But it was always kind of like, oh, well, you'll just go back to nursing. Like this is just a little phase kind of thing.
That's your little job.
My side gig or like whatever. My friends still just don't get it, which is fine.
That's
But
why we need a tribe.
yeah, I know. Exactly. Well, that's why it's so important just to surround yourself with other people who are in this world, because if you're not, you don't get it. But yeah, I just honestly, it was a gradual leaving of healthcare, I would say. Like I was part-time when I had my daughter, and then I ended up finding a work from home job, which I was like, this is a unicorn job. Like everyone wants to work from home as a nurse doing triage on the phone. How terrible it was. Oh my gosh, it was so terrible. Not only was it like the liability of it was terrifying, but it was just like you miss that like in-person connection with your patients, which is why I loved healthcare so much, is just like hearing people's stories and but when you're answering the phone call, you're like trying to get through it as fast as you can, and just didn't feel right. So that lasted a couple months. And while I was doing that is when I started my work as a virtual assistant, which was a nice kind of transition period. Like I kind of set a deadline for myself. I didn't want to be working another Christmas and holiday season. So yeah, I think it was like November 8th. I'll remember November 8th. I quit that job, and it was so weird to be free for the holidays when like the past 8 years I had been like rotating, working at the hospital or working, the weekend after Thanksgiving or whatever that looked like. So it was nice. I mean, like I said, it was like a transition. I didn't expect to match my nursing salary anytime soon. And honestly, it wasn't an expectation. I mean, we're very lucky that I was kind of just like considering myself a stay-at-home mom only. And this was just like extra money. But then, of course, now it's more of a full-time gig, which is good.
Yeah.
It didn't happen overnight, for sure.
Yes. I'm always curious when we talk to entrepreneurs, like what the allure of entrepreneurship was for you. Like, what did you think it was going to give you?
Just freedom, really, just time freedom, like not having to be on someone else's schedule, not having to plan my vacations out like 6 months in advance because I have to like find some coverage. Like if I called out of work, I was really hurting my fellow nurses because they had to pick up the slack or take extra patients or someone got called in. So just having that like freedom of making my own schedule. Like the kids are sick today. I'm just not going to do work today, or I'll stay up late tonight and catch up, whatever that looks like. So that was definitely the biggest draw, especially being like a new parent. And then, of course, just like I didn't really realize this until getting into it more, but just the limitlessness of it, of like financially and just like all of the pivots you can make. Like, just I started as a virtual assistant. That's not what I'm doing now, but like the business has transitioned pretty seamlessly with that. So the limitlessness with what you can do, like the kind of work you can do, and of course the like financial limitlessness. If you want to make $1 million a year, there's a way you can do it. I'm not there, but
right. The freedom, do you feel like you've gotten it?
to a point. I will say that that's why I got out of just being a virtual assistant, is because I still felt like I was trading my time for money. Like people were paying me an hourly rate. And even though I wanted to like create these package retainer kind of things, it still felt like I'm like the backbone of this business. If I don't do the work on their deadline, then, their business suffers. So that's kind of what also helped me get into like web design and SEO, is I could charge a little bit more for these packages that also got my clients way better results, more tangible results of like that website traffic is going to convert into paying clients for their business. So it's a win-win for them and for me. I felt like I was giving them more value for what they were paying me for and not trading as much of my time for money. Like my package is my package. It doesn't matter if it takes me 100 hours to do it or 5 hours to do it, right?
I had a boss once. I was working full time for one of my favorite bosses of all time. And I had been there a really long time, and they had kept giving me raises, and it was really great. But it got to a point where I was salaried, and I felt in my heart like I was not giving them enough, right? Like I felt like I wasn't doing enough for what I was making. And he said to me, he said, well, you're getting all your work done, right? And I said, well, yeah. And he said, well, I'm not going to punish you for being efficient. And I thought,
Yeah.
I mean, also amazing boss, right? Like,
I was going to say, what boss ever says that? Like,
yeah.
they're like, oh, you have more time here. You can take this, take this.
Yeah, here. Yeah. And my husband said to me when I told him I was going to go talk to him about this, he was like, you're asking for a demotion, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, that's another story. But when I coach entrepreneurial clients right now, it's sort of one of the biggest issues we get into about charging by the hour.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you do service for anybody and you're charging by the hour, inevitably you're going to get more efficient and you're going to get better at that job. And it's going to take you less time as you get better at it. So, getting into a place where you're charging for packages, no matter how much time it takes you, this is the package. It might have taken you 10 hours at the beginning of your career, but now you can get 10 hours worth of work done in 2 hours.
Right.
So your dollar per hour goes up while the package kind of stays the same. So thank you for saying that. Like you're trading time for money. Mm-hmm. You can get better and more efficient and not have to lower your dollar per hour, basically.
Definitely.
So,
yeah. And that's like the overachieverness that it seems like you have as well, that like, you're like, I should be like giving it my all for this job. But
it was a real problem. It's better now, but it was a real problem.
Yeah. That transition was definitely hard for me too, because I was like, oh, wait, they're paying me. Like I need to do everything that they say, even if it's not in the scope of the contract. Like they're paying me. I don't want to make them mad, whatever.
Yeah.
But really, it's like,
I think that comes
take ownership of your business. Like this is your business. You are the expert that they're paying you for. My husband's my coach for that.
Yeah. Right. Like back in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have changed my view on money a lot since I've gotten into this and gotten into entrepreneurship in general, but I just don't feel bad charging people. I do good things with money. So therefore I should make more money so I can do more good things. And I think that is of 100% of my clients and 100% of the people I surround myself with, they should also be doing that. They should make as much money as they possibly can so they can share it with the world. That's the whole point of this. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox.
There's so much like money mindset that did not realize like all of these money issues that I had from, from like childhood, even like that.
And women, especially women. Also, we weren't necessarily taught everything. And now we feel bad about not knowing it. Right. So you can get into entrepreneurship and not realize like, oh, well, I don't know what a profit and loss statement is or a cash flow report.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like I should know it because I own a business. So therefore, it's a stupid question. I'm not going to ask it. I'm just going to like kind of
I'll
ignore
just
it.
struggle with my little Excel.
Yeah, like I'll just do well, or I'll just ignore it, or somebody else can do it, or the accountant can do it, or whatever. I don't need to worry about it as long as I'm bringing in enough money, for me and my family. That can get really dangerous. So
Yeah.
money mindset is my jam for 2025. If anybody wants to come along.
Yeah, good. I'm there. I'm with you.
Okay, I do want to dive into all things SEO though, because I'm fascinated by this. I also feel like it is one of those questions like I should know what it is, but I have no fucking idea. And I feel like I'm too far gone to ask about it. Plus, I don't know anybody that does it except for like the slimy people that take money and tell you they're doing something and then they don't. So please tell me, what is SEO?
Yeah. I mean, well, to your point too, I do think every business owner should at least have a general understanding of it. And so many business owners come to me like 3-4 years into their business and they're like, okay, like I actually have no idea what it is. And I feel like I have this website and it's done nothing for me. And I'm paying all this money for a website. I paid a designer for a website and it's not doing anything for me. So yeah, let's get into it.
Can I give you a TV timeout just for 1 second? I just want to ask websites. So before we get into SEO, the importance of a website. So everybody and their mother right now is on Instagram, and I get it. And everybody's like, oh my God, give me more followers. I need 10,000 followers, 100,000 followers, a million, whatever that number is, that there's a magic number out there for the algorithm, but also the magic number for you as a person, right? Like we all have a magic number. So I am a firm believer in websites. I'm also a firm believer in email marketing. Because I think that is still kind of king. But websites, are they still important? Pretty sure I'm going to get the right answer from you. But are they still important? And how important compared to social media?
Yeah, I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. I think you do need both. And your social media can help your website presence. So you absolutely need a website, because what do you do when you're looking for something, especially a local business? You type into Google, like Mexican restaurant near me, and you look at the website, you look through the menu, you look at the aesthetic, like, does it look pretty inside? Or are there rats crawling around on the floor? That person probably wouldn't have a website. But yeah, it's just that extra piece of your online presence that I think every business needs. You don't necessarily need it eventually. Like I've met a lot of coaches that have been successful just marketing themselves on Instagram. But a year or two down the line, once you have your packages established and you know who your target audience is, you know what your goals are for your business, you need to really start focusing on your online presence, because that's going to get you in front of more eyes. And it's just less time consuming, in my opinion, than being on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, you know that you need to be consistent, which for Instagram is every single day you're showing up in some way, whether it's on stories or in your feed posts. And sometimes a feed post, I mean, for me, if I'm making a carousel, I could spend 1 hour making one carousel.
It's a lot. One like.
And get one like, and
and it's from like my mom or somebody.
Yeah, it's useless and it doesn't convert. And yes, yeah, and you have no control over it. You could lose those. I've had friends who have 100,000 followers and their Instagram account gets hacked, completely gone. Like all of their content, all of their followers, and Instagram, even though you're meta verified, that really means nothing. They don't help you get that account back. So luckily, my friend got hers back, but she had to pay money for it. And
oh my God, scary.
Yeah. And just like that control is gone. And like to your point, I think it all goes together where people can find you organically on Instagram, send them to your website, and then also have that opt-in for your email list and have a variety of different opt-ins so that you have their contact information. And that is like your private way to communicate with them, where you can share more value, share more personal things, whatever that looks like for you. But yeah, definitely. I'm very pro website, of course.
Yep. Pro website. We are. Okay. So now what is SEO?
So back to SEO. So SEO is really just all of the processes and methods that you use to build your online presence. And the key is that it's organic. So with that, you're not paying for ads. People are finding you naturally through, I say Google, but it could be Bing, it could be Yahoo, any of those like search engine type things. I
A
know.
lot?
I don't know. Not, apparently it's coming up, but it's like,
Reach out to me and tell me if you use Bing and why. I need to
yeah.
know
I would
why you're
also
using
like
that.
the
Yeah.
results of that
Please
poll.
let me know because I want to know who uses Bing. But
Yeah.
anyway, go
I
ahead.
don't know. Apparently it's up and coming. I don't know. But
Yeah.
YouTube, Pinterest, those are also considered search engines. So
Oh,
because you're
yes. I use
typing into a
Pinterest for
search
search.
bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even TikTok has like a search platform too, but that's a whole different story. So yeah, SEO is just really getting your content, whether it's your website, your blog, your podcast, even in front of more eyes by being strategic, using the right keywords, targeting the right audience so that you're really providing value to the people that you want to find you, essentially.
And it's search engine optimization.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
And that word and that acronym have been around since Google started.
Probably. Yeah.
It's
Probably
been
since the
forever.
dawn of
Some
the
of those
internet.
things change, I feel like, but SEO is SEO.
Yes. Yeah. And it comes in waves. I feel like there was a really big trend for it last year. And this year with like AI and like the new AI overview coming up in Google, people are like, oh, I don't need to focus on search because people did lose some traffic from that. But when you think about it, it's not the traffic that is going to convert into paying customers for you anyway. The search results that are coming up with that AI overview are like pretty simple standard questions of like, give me a list of, restaurants near me or whatever. I keep using restaurants as an example, but that is, a list. You're not really getting much value from that. But if I'm searching for a more in-depth, like a tutorial or something like that, I'm going to click on a website link and get more value and find more information from one specific person. And if you're on that first page of Google, that obviously increases your chances of getting clicked on. And it just helps to build that brand awareness. Like somebody can click on your website for the first time. I've done this many times. And then I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this person, but they're now my go-to resource for all things YouTube or all things Pinterest, whatever it is. And then you can kind of start searching their names directly. And anyway, that's kind of the funnel there.
I'm a Pinterest junkie.
Oh, yay. I love Pinterest.
I love Pinterest. My friend Bridget was like, you still use Pinterest? And I was like, yeah, doesn't everybody? And she's like, no, I haven't been on Pinterest since like 2010. I was like, that's a lie. Pinterest is still, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is going to build my house. I mean, that literally,
Yes.
that is, and now Pinterest has all the like, oh, I want that. Where do I find that?
Highlight. Yeah. Here are 10 examples. This one's from Walmart. This one's from Anthropology. Which one do you want?
And I think Pinterest has like kept the integrity of Pinterest and just added little things here and there. Cause like I went off of it for a while and came back because I got really overwhelmed with my boards, right? They were. So I came back and it's still really navigator friendly, like
it's intuitive. Yeah.
It's still my search engine for sure. If I'm looking for anything, if I'm looking for anything. Yeah. Anything visual, but also if I'm like, oh, well, of course, everybody's looking for recipes, but like if I want a budget spreadsheet, that's where I'm going. I mean, sometimes I'll go to Etsy, but that's where I'm going to get the Etsy link, basically. Yeah. So tell me about SEO for Pinterest, because is that a thing?
It's definitely a thing. Yeah. If you're using it like as a business owner to promote your own content, website, whatever, you definitely need to be strategic about it as well, because the search terms that people put into Google are going to be different than the search terms that you put into Pinterest.
Okay.
So, question-based things perform a little bit better on Google, but if you're on Pinterest, you might be like gluten-free cookie recipe or something like that. And it's important that you don't like incorrectly label your content, because once people click on that link, if your blog post or whatever is not a gluten-free cookie recipe, people are going to click right off of it, and that hurts your website domain authority. So SEO, important for Pinterest. You want the keywords on the actual pin itself, in the title, in the description. Pretty much, this is kind of a universal rule for like all social media and website and stuff. If there's a spot, they want you to fill it. Like Pinterest wants you to fill all of the, the tags.
And there's
the title.
so many spots.
There's so many now. Yeah. The link, like fill it all in. And that's
such a good little tip. I mean, like if you're taking a little tip from here, if there is a field to fill in, fill it in.
Yeah. And for your website too. Oh my gosh. The back end of things I go onto people's websites and they're just empty. And I'm like, this is not telling Google what you're trying to tell it. Yeah. Google, at the end of the day, these are still computers and they're still, little robots, whatever, that need to read the data. And if you're not putting that data in the right places, it can't read it. So it doesn't know where to put your content in the mix. It's kind of like a library, I say. Like they're trying to catalog, like you are a nonfiction writer and you write about recipes. So they want to put you in a little bubble and understand what your content is about. So
well, Google's job really is to put the right people in front of the right information.
Yes. Yeah. And how you were saying like those, marketing gurus that kind of scare you into like, you're not doing this right. That's how they get you, because they're like, you need to be afraid of Google. Like if you make Google mad, you're done. Like, that's how they get you with their marketing. Yeah. But the thing is, like you said, like Google is actually your friend. Like they want to help you find the right people that are going to spend time on your website. That's their whole thing.
Well, it's the whole thing everywhere, really. And I say this to a lot of clients, and I've said it to a lot of people, and this was really hard for me to learn for a long time. It is, you do not want the wrong people. If they don't want your service, you do not want them. If they say no, let them go. You do not need them. There are 8 billion people in this world. Where there is a 1 no, there are 5 yeses probably. It's really finding the right people, because if you don't have the right people, you can't give them the right service. And then they'll be disappointed or resentful or whatever. They'll give you a 1-star review.
Give you a bad review, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't get what you promised or what they expected from you because you had the wrong person. And that was really hard for me. Actually, going through your course, we went through some avatar, like, who is your person? And I feel like every small business, especially online course right now, is like, every business everywhere, like you need to know who your customer is, because you don't know what then words to put in Pinterest if you don't know who your customer is.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about that and what that looks like for SEO.
Yeah. And we can talk about that related to blogging, especially because people are always asking me like, okay, I understand blogging helps my SEO. And I can explain that too, is the way blogging helps your SEO is that you're giving Google more content so that it can better understand your website. And what people don't know about SEO is that every page on your website actually ranks individually of each other. So if you only have like a 3-page website, that only gives you like 3 chances really to get in front of the right people. But if you have a blog that has 100 posts, all of the different keywords that you're using in those posts gives you more opportunity to show up on Google. So when it comes to like niching down with your blog content, people are always asking, I have no idea what to blog about. The easiest thing to do is go to your clients or people who would be your ideal clients and like, what are they struggling with, or what questions are they constantly coming to you for? Like, I'm sure if you actually took the time, and I say this in my course too, is like, anytime somebody is in your DMs asking you a question and then you get like 3 of those same questions, that's probably something that could be a really great blog post, because somebody is asking, you're getting the same question. So people are wanting the answer to that. Creating content around that question in the form of a blog post, it could be anywhere on your website too, or even, on social media, that is going to position you as an expert that people are going to come to you for. That also will help you show up on Google. I just had someone ask me this morning, or I saw that they had posted something. I was like, oh, love that you're blogging. That's awesome. Like, what made you want to do that? She was like, I don't know. Like, the website platform just told me I needed to add a blog. So I just wrote like a simple blog post about like answering, is like, what type of permanent makeup is right for me? And that's probably the number one question that an ideal customer would be asking her is like, do I want microblading, or do I don't even know the types of things, right. Lip stains or whatever it's called. So it's just giving Google that content and giving your customers that content too, because if you're a permanent makeup artist and you're writing about, what you had for dinner that night, that's so irrelevant. I see that a lot, is that people kind of write their blog content just like their stream of conscious and like what they are interested in, but you need to be thinking like your customer and how can I answer a question for them so that they will come and click on my website.
For the multi-passionates and the scanner personalities like myself out here, I have lots of interests. I have a blog. I have 500 blog posts that are about everything under the sun. How important is it for you to niche down, like down from an SEO standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to see your blog and what kind of stuff you got going on there. But I mean, if you're a personal brand, which I would say you are a personal brand, then that might make sense for you to.
Thank you.
I would say that.
Mom, I made it.
Yeah. But like, it might make sense for you to be like, if I would click on your website and you had a recipe, like I would be like, yeah, Katie's an entrepreneur like me. She only has a limited amount of time to cook this dinner. Like, I trust that her recipe is going to be good.
By the way, I have 0 recipes.
Okay, 0 recipes. That's
Yeah,
good.
0 recipes. But
It's
like,
always my go-to because that's what I search for.
me too, right? I love like, what are people eating? I want to know what people are eating.
Right.
But it's an interesting place to be when you like have lots of, I guess, passions, right? Like I've built my, I guess, personal brand or my businesses around having multiple things that I do, which has somewhat niched it down to multi-passionates. I didn't really know that until I started going back and looking at my blog posts and seeing what did well and what didn't do well. And I was like, oh, there's like and my number one Pinterest pin is, oh my God, I'm a scanner. I'm not crazy. And all of a sudden I kind of forgot I was a scanner. And then I went back and read that and I was like, oh, there's like a lot of traffic here, a lot more traffic than any other.
Yeah.
And it sort of like gave me my niche, even though I am that person. And usually if you're trying to attract somebody, there's some portion of yourself and who the person is you're trying to attract.
Say that.
Yeah. So, for me, it's pretty easy because I am a multi-passionate. So all the tools I use for myself that work usually work for other people too.
Right.
But I also am sober. So like I have a whole nother niche of like people that are sober or like a sober entrepreneur or that kind of thing. And I really don't like to separate them.
Yeah. I don't think you need to though. I bet there's some overlap. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's probably a story for me to hire you with.
Yeah. But that's a good thing that you're looking at your highest performing.
Of course. I like got stuck on the first module forever because I was like, shit,
that's the biggest one.
Niche.
Yeah. And I mean, and like you said, every business course ever like has that module, but I try to really give it those actionable tips of like, not even tips, but like that strategy of like, this is how you use what your clients are saying and make content out of it. And then go back and look at how that content performed. And the best performing ones make more of that.
Yeah.
And that's
Tell me about that. Tell me about the numbers part of it. Like, what can people see? When can they see like improvement? What they should be looking for? So much of this is in your course, and I've taken the course, so I know it's in there. And you do really walk people through of like, I didn't know is it Google Trends?
Yeah, Google Trends. And Pinterest has a trends too.
Trend, but what's the other one that I had never heard of it before? It's not analytics, it's the other one.
Search console?
Yes, the search console. I had no idea that thing even existed. And then
I like that better than Google Analytics. I like looking at that.
Then I went down the rabbit hole of that thing and I was like, ooh, I don't know what I'm doing here. I did like sort of get stopped there. I got enough to like get some information and get moving, but that's a whole nother, you can get really in the weeds on that.
I spend way too much time on that platform because I look at all my clients too. I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, to answer your question, with blogging, like if you're doing it somewhat consistently, which like could be different for everyone, but it could be like 3 to 6 months before you really start seeing a good increase in traffic. There are so many things you can do to help increase that and shorten that time frame. By posting your blogs on Pinterest so that you get traffic from there, by sharing it on social media, sharing it to your email list so that you get that instant traffic that signals to Google that, hey, this is a valuable article that was just posted and let's get it out to more people. So there's all those things that you can do to speed up the process. You'll hear most SEO people say like, 3 to 6 months before you start seeing like some increase in your website traffic. But I've had clients where I revamp their website with SEO, not to toot my own horn, but like,
let's toot your own horn. If you're not going to, I will.
Okay, good. Yeah. So I've had clients where they, had just no SEO strategy in place. And then we go in and put those keywords in the right places, make sure we have enough content on the page that we're signaling to Google, like this is who we're talking to. And then they get clients a week or 2 later from Google. So it's possible to do it. It just depends on your industry, your competition. There's so many different factors.
Hey there, listeners. It's Katie. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Female Founders Collective. I started this collective because I know firsthand how challenging it can be to build a business from the ground up. As female founders, we're balancing so much, our dreams, our families, our sanity, and it can feel pretty lonely out there. That's why the collective is all about real connection and support. We're a community of women who are sharing what works, what doesn't, and having each other's backs. So if you're looking for a network that truly gets it, come join us at the Female Founders Collective. We meet virtually every single Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time. It's always free. It will never be a charge. This is something that I am really passionate about. Come and join us. You can register by going to katierip.com.
So like Google can be daunting to me. And I kind of always felt like SEO was for the big dogs, right? Like spending a lot of money on SEO was like a luxury kind of, because like who's Googling a lifestyle coach and then going to find my little corner of the world? Argue with me.
You'd be surprised. Yeah. And that's why.
Wrong.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why that first module in the course is so huge, is because it's like all of that market research, that competitor research, like where is the gap in the market that you can fill? And like, that doesn't mean you're changing your business or changing who you are. It's just like highlighting what makes you different, really.
Yeah. So tell me about the investment itself. Of course, there's courses out there that you can do it yourself. Of course, we also have 500,000 other things to do.
Yes.
Why is investing in SEO, like, how's it going to make me money? I want to know, how's it going to get me new clients and how's it going to make me money? Just go into Instagram and do this all for free. I actually use Instagram personally and professionally. My own is just like exposure. I really don't look at it as any kind of business vehicle, only because I just don't want to depend on the algorithm. That part really just makes me feel like I have no control.
Yeah.
So investing in SEO has always been a little bit daunting because I feel like it's for the big dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm getting people to my website, like what's the ROI? How do I know I'm getting clients from it?
It's hard to do it yourself. That's where like it does help to like hire an expert, because they track all of that for you. Like they can put it into a nice spreadsheet or whatever, break it down from your Google Analytics of like, okay, you are spending 90% of your marketing time on Instagram and no clients are coming from it, right? But if you spend that same amount of time blogging, that could get you in front of hundreds of new people. And yeah, it gets a little hard to track that exact, flow of like, okay, did they find me on Instagram or did they find me on Google or did they find me on Pinterest or, where did that come from? But that's where Google Analytics can help a little bit. But the return on investment, to answer your question, is probably, I think I have to look at the numbers now, but it's like 40 to 1 to social media. Like I think Neil Patel just did a study of like 12,000 business owners or something like that. And that's what he found, is that people were spending 90% of their time on social media, getting no results from it. But the ones who invested in SEO and blogging saw like a 400% maybe increase in their revenue. So yeah, to say that it is for the big dogs, like it is expensive for some people to start up. But if you plan on being in business for 3-5 years, however you didn't start this business to close it in a year, that long-term initial setup is going to pay off for years to come. Like I have blog posts from 2 years ago that are still getting people onto my email list. And it's all just part of that, funnel. So people are finding you through a blog post, then they're joining your email list, then you can nurture them. And it might take 2 years. I've had people who have joined my course who have been following me for 2 or 3 years on my email list. But it took them that long to decide, hey, I think I'm ready for this,
Oh, true.
So it's hard because it's like a little bit more abstract than that instant gratification that you get from social media. But SEO is that, like, it is for the big dogs. Like if you want to take your business seriously, I think you need to be investing in SEO.
Well, maybe we just want to be the big dogs.
You want to be the big dog, don't you?
Yes. That's a better way to look at it. Yeah, because the Instagram, I love Instagram. I'm not knocking Instagram by any means. I love watching all the Instagram people. I am very, very intentional about my Instagram. I love it. I love everything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I love to share things. I love it.
It's great for building community. I love it for that.
I do. I love it. I don't sell anything from there. I sell on my website. Like my website is the only way to really get in touch with me and schedule an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it on Instagram. Like I always just send people to my website. So that is one of the things that I have heard pretty much all my entrepreneurial life as I've been involved with websites at all is 1000% of the time you are sending people to your website.
Mm-hmm.
Not,
You should be.
yeah,
People
you
are
should.
embarrassed of their website and then they don't. And it's a
Yeah. Oh,
very missed
interesting. Tell me
opportunity.
about that.
Oh, all the time. People have websites and they're not even linked on their Instagram account because they're embarrassed. Yeah, because they did it themselves or they've changed what their business is even about or who they're about or whatever. And it's just doesn't, speak to them anymore. I hear that a lot from people. So they don't even share it. And then you're just like spending money on nothing. You might as well not have a website.
Gosh, I didn't realize that was like a pain point.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
People are
Yeah.
embarrassed about their websites.
All the time. Yeah. And some people might not like reaching out directly to you on Instagram. They might want to learn a little bit about you first.
Sure.
So where else are they going to do that but your website? Like have that about page, sharing your story, have those service pages that are showing them exactly what it looks like to work with you. That is going to be super helpful because people might be a little shy. They don't want to ask you directly or they don't have time to listen to your podcast to learn more about you. So having that written content on your website is going to be very helpful.
Or they followed you for 3 years and they haven't seen your posts in 2 years.
Right. Oh, all the time. Yeah.
I mean, I see that all the time. I'll look at somebody, like I'll see somebody, I'll be like, God, I haven't seen shit from them on Instagram in so long. And then
You got shadow banned from me for a long time. I was like, where is she? I intentionally go in and I'm like, where is she? Go like 10 posts.
Right? I don't even remember who it was, but I was like, why am I not seeing this person anymore? I still follow them. She might have even been one of my favorites. And I was like, I had to go search her out. And I was like, where has she been? Except she's been there the whole time.
Isn't that weird how that happened?
Yeah. And I'm like her ICA. So
and I'm sure you're liking.
Yes, to no fault of her own. It just algorithm told me I should be looking at cat videos instead because it's meant to my sister. And now I'm a cat video person. I mean, you can train Instagram, but you also train it the wrong way sometimes. So.
Oh yeah, now I'm getting sourdough out the wazoo, and I'm like, I only make one sourdough recipe. I don't have time for anything else right now.
No, I cannot feed it. I cannot nurture it. No,
that's all I can do. It's just all the homemakers, which I aspire to be one day, but I'm not there yet.
Yeah, we're fine. We can move that or just save that Instagram feed. Or when my Instagram feed is really great and I'm loving everything on it, it's like I press refresh and they're like, no, that was too good. We're gonna get a different
Sorry.
Sorry, that one was really good. Okay, so websites, I mean, I know we dug really far into we sort of skimmed the surface on SEO, but I'm now fascinated by people's websites. So I have a web design certificate from 25 years ago, HTML, right? So I've built all my own websites because I know just enough to be dangerous. So Squarespace has always been my kind of go-to place to start websites for people. Start all my own websites. I find Squarespace to be actually really user-friendly from you can do this on your own standpoint. There's some training, there's a learning curve for sure, but you can do it. Of course, I got bored with my website. So I was like, oh, let's move on over to Show It, which has been Show It's great. Although that's a whole nother learning curve. And it took me a really long time to rebuild my entire website. I do love it now. Piece of advice for somebody that is realizing, oh shit, I should probably have a website. A. B, where do I even start? I don't have time for this. I don't have any of the energy to learn this. If I don't have the money for it, well, first of all, what kind of money are we talking about to build a website from somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, people will do it for a couple $100 on Fiverr, but if you want it done right, we're looking minimum $3,000.
Okay.
For, a standard 4 to 5 page website.
Done right.
Yeah, done right. Hopefully, I also recommend find a designer that knows SEO because not all designers do. And then if you build your website and then you decide a year later, oh, I actually want to start focusing on SEO. I don't feel like my keywords are in the right places here. And then you go back. I do this all the time too. I go back and look at a website that was professionally designed, looks beautiful, but it's not ranking because there's so many pieces missing. So I will say I recommend if you're going to invest in paying a web designer, definitely find one that is at least, has a basic understanding of SEO. To do it more affordably is you could buy a template. And the reason I say buy a template is because the ones that Squarespace gives you, or even Show It gives you, they're very generic. They're everyone, at least maybe I'm like too in the weeds to know to say this, but like I can instantly tell like this is a Squarespace website or this is a Show It website, like because they're just using those standard templates that they give you. But if you pay, $200-300 for a professionally designed template, you can just plug and play, put in your pictures, put in your content, and then really you can launch it within a day or two. The other piece of that is that content piece, which is what people struggle with the most and also what is probably the most important for SEO. There are lots of like copywriters that have guides, like write your website guides and whatever. I have one that I give my clients when I work with them, but that just helps you lay out your website in a way that makes sense, that flows, that has all of those pieces that people are looking for when they come to a website, like those service pages, like do they have enough detail? Do they explain the process, the testimonials, all of these things? So many websites I see are missing those like key social proof pieces, or they're not going into enough. It's like one sentence about their service, and that's just not enough information to get people to actually book you. So that would be my advice. To go the cheaper route is to buy a template and find, even there's probably free resources out there for the actual content writing guide. And then of course, if you focus on SEO, they do have an SEO challenge, which is very affordable. It's $17, and that teaches you the very, very basics of SEO, where you can learn how to find the keywords that are related to your business and your niche for free, no tools, just using Google. And then it shows you exactly where to put them on your website to help optimize it. So,
Oh, cool. Well, we'll definitely link that. We can link that in the show notes.
I'll send you that.
I will definitely also link your course because I'm a huge fan. One of the other things is you do audits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about the auditing.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. Is if you already have a website, whether you did it yourself or a professional did it, having someone audit it. So like me, I'm very thorough with my audit. So I go through every page of your website, look at the Google Analytics, look and see where your traffic is coming from, what keywords you're currently ranking for. And then I go really deep into the keyword research and find where that gap is. If like you can easily add that, like you're a location-based business, but I don't see the term Wisconsin anywhere on your website, like that is a huge missed opportunity. I'll walk you through it and show you exactly where to put that so you can do it yourself. Or of course, then a lot of people are like, oh, this is too overwhelming, I'm going to hand this off. That happens a lot. But I really take the time and I do an hour-long strategy call with my clients to go through the results of the audit. But it shows you, so many things. There's the technical side of SEO, the user experience, like what people actually are looking at when they come to your website and how we can make that better. And then, of course, the content with those keywords in the right places, too.
Always comes back to good content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Content is king. That's what they say.
The other thing I was going to ask you about website was the $3,000. Let's say it's $5,000 for fun.
Sure.
Like, let's say you've got a brand new business that you're going to get off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You have got to have a website. I don't care what kind of business it is, really. I mean, eventually, if you're just side hustling, I get it. You might not want to do that. And one of the biggest downfalls for most female entrepreneurs that started as a side hustle is that they don't have a budget for starting the business. Mm-hmm. And then they end up starting with $0 or less than zero. And they're putting domain names and
it adds up. Email marketing
and all of that on a credit card that they're not making any sales to pay it. So that's sort of my soapbox. And ask me how I know that, because
same.
Yeah. But the investment for a website is so significant that Instagram is great. You are probably not, and somebody might argue with me, and that's fine, if that's the only place you get your really quality clients. I would like to know that. But mostly they're coming from online. And think about how you shop. I shop, I certainly buy shit from Instagram and Facebook and stuff all the time. But I'm usually going to their website.
Right.
And I'm putting my email address in and I'm buying it from their website.
Give me that 10% coupon. Yeah.
Yes, give it to me. Which is why I ended up with 144 texts and emails this week.
Yeah. Same.
But this is just really like more of a statement that I think you'll agree with is make the investment in your website. Yeah. Whether you invest time in it and you do it with a tutorial or a course and you walk through it and you really take the time to do it and be proud of it so you can share it, Or if you don't have the time or the expertise, outsource that shit so you can then spend the time that you would have spent on it making the sales to pay for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because like we talked about earlier, you're spending all of this time on Instagram and it's not getting you clients when you could have a website that does it for you and you don't have to, it is an
I feel like
investment
the
for
app
sure,
on
but
Instagram is like going to come out of my phone.
I know I'm always, I always put like a disclaimer when I'm like talking, even in my reels, I'm like, Instagram's bad for this. And I'm like, disclaimer, I still love it.
I still love you.
I love it. I'm on there all the time. But yeah, it's true. The investment it's worth it to do it sooner rather than later too, because you're going to go back 2-3 years later. Like I said, I see this all the time. And then they're like, I spent so much time on this and I actually had no idea what I was doing. I should have just paid someone from the beginning.
I mean, how many things could we say that about? I could say it about hundreds of things that
everything. Yeah.
1 or 2 tips for people if they do have a website right now and maybe they're embarrassed about it. What would you say to them?
Ooh, okay. Go on Pinterest. There are so many web designers that are posting their like portfolio pieces. Follow me and you'll see mine, but see what you like about them. Start just gathering, like, make a little board of like website inspiration so that you can visually see what you like about them. And then you can start implementing them. There's tons of free resources like YouTube and everything to learn how to actually build out websites on Squarespace or Show It or wherever you are. So that's like from a visual standpoint to help you be more proud of it. And then
how about from SEO?
From an SEO standpoint, I mean, start with that audit. I think you're going to get the most bang for your buck. Like if you are on a budget and can't hire somebody to do it for you, but that's going to give you not only visual tips and how to make it better, but all of that SEO work, the keywords, the strategy, the sales strategy, all in an hour of your time. It's very much worth it.
Yeah. Tell me, what does an audit cost for you?
$500.
Okay.
A pretty quick turnaround. And like I said, you get that 1 hour strategy call with me, which is what people love the most about it. Is they're like, oh, you're explaining it in a way that makes sense. Like
now I can go back and do it myself. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Amazing.
Like I said, I want people to, at least all business owners should have at least a general understanding of how SEO works so that you don't have to hire a web designer every time you want to add a new page to your website. That shouldn't be the case.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on.
This was so fun. Thank you.
Yes. We'll do it again because I feel like we only scratched the surface of SEO.
I know.
I feel like we could go real far.
Yeah. Follow my tips series going on right now.
Yes,
like 100 videos.
Maggie on Hilltop Help. She really does. Honestly, I have used a lot of your tips from Instagram.
Good.
And I'm like, oh, this did work. I actually have seen, since I took your course, I've seen, it's sort of surprising, not because I didn't believe
you're a skeptic.
I am a total skeptic, but I was like, oh, and then I'm fascinated. I'm like, where are these people coming from? Like, I want to know exactly where they're coming from, what they want to do.
A little addicting.
It is kind of addicting. All those numbers here and there, and the real time really gets me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, who's on there right now? And why?
What are they looking at? What am I doing right?
Why are you looking at it? What are you doing?
It's fun.
It is fun.
Well, I'm glad. So your traffic has gone up?
It has gone up. Yes. I have seen like a shift. And I don't really know why, but I'm like, oh, well, maybe the work I did on my blog has worked.
It pays off. It takes a little time, but once you get it, it's going to.
And I have used my 10-minute timer to do this. Right. So like I just set my timer for 10 minutes and I grab one page of my website because I've got 800 pages because I've got all these blog posts that are half done. And I just have gone through and I've just optimized every single one. I've gone through and filled in all the blanks. And I haven't done that many. I probably went through like the most active ones. I bet I've done, 20 or 30 over the last 3 or 4 months. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see anything right away, but now I'm starting to see like traffic where keep going up. So
baby steps.
Very exciting.
That is great. I love to hear that. You have to write me a testimonial for that.
Oh, I will. Awesome. Well, we are going to leave all of your tips, tricks, and resources in the show notes, as well as your Instagram handle. Can you tell us that?
It's at Hilltop Help, HILLTOP HELP. And I'm doing a series right now. So twice or maybe 3 times a week if I get around to editing them. I give you a quick tip you can implement in 5 minutes or less, like you said. So
Love it.
really easy things to learn SEO.
Yeah, especially around this time of year.
Yeah.
If you are selling in any kind of service or product industry, this is a thing to do in December.
Good to focus on.
Amazing. Well, we will definitely be sharing you far and wide. So thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome.
And that's a wrap on today's episode. I hope you enjoyed diving deep into the world of living authentically with me. Before you go, don't forget to connect with me on Instagram. Shoot me a message at Katie Rip. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode and connect with you further. And remember, if you want more details on today's episode or just want to explore more about designing your life unapologetically, head on over to my website at katierip.com. There you'll find all the juicy details and resources you need to keep the inspiration flowing. Lastly, if you'd like to join me on the show, whether it's to tell about your experience of designing your own life, to share your expertise, or if you'd like to participate in lifestyle coaching live on air, don't hesitate to reach out. Your story could inspire countless others on their own path to living authentically. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep living boldly, designing your life, and remember, #actually I can.